Hey guys, it's Mrs. Yeagle again. I'm here to read chapter 5 of The Darkest Hour to you. It starts on page 50. That night, I lie awake on my cot. Hours have passed since the briefing and all of headquarters has gone quiet, but I can't sleep. The eyes of the dead won't give me any peace tonight. Trevor's eyes come to me first, all wide and watery and begging me for mercy. I try to swat the fresh memory of him away, but as soon as I chase it off, I see Margot and Agnes. I imagine them in Reims, their eyes grim as the Nazis close in on them. I wonder if they'd gone out fighting, emptying their pistols until their chambers clicked hollow. Or maybe they took the suicide pills that every agent is given before a mission, marked L for lethal. One swallow and you're gone. Nobody wants to use an L pill, of course, but sometimes you don't have a choice. I grind my teeth and try not to think about the two of them, and I especially don't want to think about Delphine and what the Germans might be doing to her right now. So I force myself to focus on something else, anything else, and that's when my thoughts turn to Theo, like they always do when sleep eludes me. Sometimes I think I'm forgetting his face, so I try to remember every detail. Theo often had this glint in his eyes, like he was thinking about a joke that our parish priest would rap his knuckles for repeating. He also had a bump in his nose and long hair that hung past his earlobes, which Papa hated. When Theo did finally cut his hair, it wasn't for our father's benefit, but to join the service. The last time I saw him alive, he was sporting that freshly clipped hair along with a new army uniform that hung past his wrists. He'd already spent 3 weeks in basic training and had come home for 3 days before he had to ship out. Our family went to the train station to see him off. The memory of that day has stayed crisp in my mind, like a newly developed photograph. Papa was hungover, like always, and we reached the station late, just in time for the conductor to cup his hand to his mouth and shout down the platform, "Last call! All aboard!" Papa shuffled forward to give the first goodbye, a rough pat on Theo's back, and a quick bon courage with his wine-stained breath. Mama was next. She started weeping into her handkerchief while Theo gave her a peck and told her how much he'd miss her crepes. Ruthie hadn't come to the station. She and Theo had said their goodbyes late the night before, but I saw him scanning the crowd for her anyway, hoping. There was no more time to search for Ruthie, though, not with the conductor motioning toward us. Theo threaded toward the nearest car, and I sprang after him, leaving our parents behind in the busy throng. "You'll write to me, won't you?" Theo said, smacking his gum and tucking a knuckle under my chin. "Of course I will. I'll be back before you know it." Then he mussed my hair because he saw the tears brimming in my eyes. "Don't worry that little head of yours either. I don't forget about California." I blinked at him. "What do you think I plan on doing with the cash Uncle Sam is going to give me?" he said. So he hadn't given up on our plan. "What about Ruthie?" "Shh," he said and jutted a thumb in our parents' direction. They didn't know he had a girlfriend, much less a Jewish one who Papa would never approve of. Not that Theo cared much about pleasing our father those days. He'd signed up for the war without mentioning a thing to our parents. "Ruthie will come with us too." "Oh, don't make that face. You like her. Admit it." It was true. I did like Ruth Green. I was all prepared to hate her for stealing away Theo's heart, but she won me over when she made him study for his tests and single-handedly brought his C average up to a B+. She was nothing like Theo at all. She was serious while he was all jokes. She kept the books at her mother's sewing shop, and Theo couldn't save a nickel if he wanted to. But somehow they fell for each other, and they'd been glued at the hip for almost a year. "When I get back," he said, "we'll all hop on a bus, the 3 of us. Just you wait. You promise?" He grinned. "When have I ever broken a promise to you?" The train started to move, and Theo gave me a fierce hug before he jumped onto the car, a smooth move straight out of the pictures. As the engine chugged and ushered him away from me, he winked and called out, "Say a Hail Mary for me every night, won't you, Luce?" I shouted back to him that I would, and I did him one better. When I woke up every morning, I said a prayer for him. When I folded dough after school, I whispered another. Then late at night, when I tried to ignore Papa's drunken shouts, I said 2 Hail Marys for Theo, just as I'd promised. Until the telegram came. I remember that day too, January 14th, 1943. Mama collapsed onto the kitchen floor weeping. Papa left the house and didn't return for 2 days. All the while, the telegram sat on our dining table like a shard of glass, untouched. A Western Union emblem was printed at the top, followed by the lines, "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Blaze, the Secretary of War expresses his deepest regret." After the funeral, I dreamed of Theo for weeks. I was always the same. It was of him, lying on a sandy battlefield in North Africa with his mouth blue and his beloved uniform shredded. It was his eyes, though, open and lifeless, that would make me wake up screaming. Mama would rush into my room while Papa would yell at me to shut my mouth. Months passed before that nightmare went away, but tonight it comes back to haunt me. This time, though, instead of Mama waking me up, it's Sabine. "What are you doing in here?" I say groggily. Sabine rarely sets foot in my room, which means she isn't here for chit-chat. She's here for a reason. "Is there an air raid?" "No," she says plainly, and I breathe out a sigh of relief. Ever since the Americans formally entered the war, the air raids have become a regular part of life. And while it might be comforting to know that our boys are so close, they don't always hit their marks. "Then what do you want?" "You are having a bad dream," she says, holding up a candle that drips wax onto my covers. Her tone is unreadable. I don't know if she's chiding me or comforting me. Knowing her, it's probably the former. I clutch my covers tight to me, a tattered shield against her words. "Is having a bad dream a crime these days?" "No, but you are thrashing about loud enough to alert every soldier in a 2-block radius. Major Harkin sent me to wake you." "Well, I'm up now. You can give Harkin my apologies. Tell him yourself. He wants to see us in the meeting room. Matilda is already there." "Why? I'm not going to Reims." I expect Sabine to smile at that, but her mouth tightens into the shape of a prune. "Those were his orders. Get dressed." Before she leaves, though, she lights the candle on my nightstand, and I notice that she's dressed in her Fifine alias. Fifine is a sweet-as-sugar dressmaker who whimpers at the sight of a gun, and her wardrobe matches her purity. A strawberry blonde wig that's braided down the back, and a pale yellow dress that sings pastel innocence. Although I'm sure Sabine has at least 2 daggers strapped to her thighs and a pen that doubles as a single-shot pistol in her pocket. I should thank her for lighting the candle for me, but my gratitude sticks in my throat. Seeing her ready to go to Reims reminds me of how I've disappointed Major Harkin again. "Don't keep the Major waiting," Sabine says, and then she's gone. I drag myself out of bed and don't bother changing out of the clothes I'd fallen asleep in last night, but I do scrub my face clean from the bowl of water on my dresser. Running water has turned into something of a joke in Paris, so we fill up our cups and pitchers whenever the pipes are working. When I reach the meeting room, I find Tilly and Major Harkin sitting at the table while Sabine slices a loaf of bread and disperses a knob of cheese. I find someone else with them, too. Loren. "Ah, Lucy!" He gives me a giant hug beneath the doorframe. His arms are warm and strong, and I feel like I'm embracing a bear. "I wish I could stay, but I'm afraid I must hurry back to the club." I step back, puzzled at what has caused him to return to headquarters so soon. Loren usually visits once every 2 weeks to bring us information that he's gleaned from the Nazis who visit the jazz club that he owns. The soldiers who frequent Le Grand Duc have no clue that Loren speaks fluent German. They simply see what they want to see, a black Frenchman with a limp from the Great War. And that's how Loren has mined his precious intelligence for us, like where the Nazis are manufacturing munitions and any news about the Pacific theater of the war. As much as I enjoy Loren's drop-ins, however, 2 visits from him within 2 consecutive days can mean only one thing. He must have brought urgent news to Harkin. I wonder if there's been an update about Delphine, but he's clearly eager to leave. Before Loren departs, he whispers, "Safe travels to you while you're gone." "Oh, I'm not going to Reims. I'll be staying here." "In Paris? But I thought you were going to Cherbourg." "Cherbourg? Why would I go to the northern French coast?" Loren doesn't elaborate any further, though, simply waves goodbye and disappears down the hallway. "Join us at the table, Blaze," Major Harkin says sourly, and I take the chair next to Tilly. She's donned her Laverne alias, complete with a pair of horn-rimmed glasses. Despite the night that she's had, she gives me a tired smile. "Did Loren bring news about Delphine, sir?" I ask. "No, he did not," replies Major Harkin. He leaves his chair to pace in front of us, and I notice that he hasn't changed since last night either. I'll get right to the point. "There's been a change of plans. Agent Chevalier, you'll no longer be traveling to Reims." From the look on Sabine's face, he might as well have slapped her. "I beg your pardon?" "You'll be heading to Cherbourg." Major Harkin looks over to me. "And you, Blaze, will be going with her." I'm not sure that I heard him right. "Me?" "Yes, you. Who else is named Blaze in this room?" "You cannot be serious, sir," says Sabine, her face twisting from shock to suspicion. Meanwhile, my own face is struck in plain shock. I wonder if Major Harkin is pulling my leg, but he isn't the sort to do any leg pulling. What about Delphine? Sabine says. Yesterday you were determined to rescue her, but today you've changed your mind? Far from it, and do watch your tone. Agent Fairbanks and I will continue to Reims as we discussed last night, Harkin replies, but I'm sending the two of you on a different mission. Sabine's eyes fill with daggers. May I speak with you in private? No, you may not. Then might I point out that Lucienne is a trainee? I'm well aware of that, yes. With all due respect, she's simply not ready. Careful, Agent Chevalier, or I'll bump you back to trainee status too. That makes Sabine stop talking. I feel a smile bubble up, but Major Harkin turns his furrowed brow toward me. Don't look so smug, Blaze, he says. You're not ready for another mission by a long shot, but you're here, and you're alive, and you're what I have to work with. That's why I'm sending you out. Is that understood? His words carve a hole in my chest, but somehow I find a way to nod. Why do you need us in Cherbourg? Lorraine gave me new intelligence that requires our presence. This is the type of mission that will require two of us, and since I'm running low on agents, I'm sending you along. He's criticizing me yet again, but I'll take his sharp words over desk duty. What do you need me to do? In reply, Major Harkin reaches into his pocket and draws out 2 handkerchiefs. One side of them is printed with a pretty rose pattern, but the other side shows a map. This is a common trick we use in covert ops, disguising maps that lead to safe houses and key locations. If it's folded and worn a certain way, say tied around your neck, the Nazis should never notice it. The map on this particular handkerchief shows a northern region of France called Normandy, specifically a sliver of the coast. The city of Cherbourg is charted out clearly from its massive seaport to its neighboring villages, and at the very bottom of the kerchief, I see 2 lines of coded text, an address, perhaps. Major Harkin taps a finger on the code. The first line of the text is the address to a safe house in Cherbourg. You'll rendezvous with a branch of the resistance there, and they'll take you to speak with a man called Alexander Dorner. Dorner? That's certainly not a French name. You want us to meet with a German? He's Austrian by birth. At least he claims to be, Major Harkin corrects me. That doesn't remove the bitter taste in my mouth. Hitler himself is Austrian-born, after all. This man also claims to be a Nazi officer with classified information for the Allies, Major Harkin goes on. He escaped from Germany to Belgium and then made his way to France, where he made contact with the resistance. Tilly shakes her head. That's quite the story. Nevertheless, it's a story we need to check out because Dorner supposedly has information about Operation Zerfall. He's willing to trade this information for safe passage to England, a new life in Allied territory. How do we know we can trust this man? Sabine asks coolly. We can't trust him at this point, and that's why I need you and Blaze to interrogate him. If Operation Zerfall is as important as we think it might be, we have to follow every lead. He knocks his knuckle against the map right over Cherbourg. Find him. Question him. If his intelligence is worth considering, take him to the village of Otterville 2 days from now at 0400 hours at these coordinates. He moves his knuckle toward the second line of coded text. The Brits will send a submarine to retrieve him just north of the village. One of their agents in the Special Operations Executive will meet you on the shore and take Dorner to the sub via rowboat. After that, you can return to Paris. I jot down Major Harkin's commands in my mind. What if we think Dorner's lying? Harkin's brow arches. Do you really need me to answer that? Understood, sir. If he does indeed come to that, however, Sabine will do the job. That's an order. She's never had any trouble taking out a target, and we can't botch this task. I dip an inch lower into my seat. He doesn't have to say my name to get the message across that he's talking about me. Sabine places her palms on the table. Then send me in alone, sir. No, and that's an order too, replies Major Harkin. Because if this Dorner is telling the truth, then it'll be our highest priority to get him across the channel.